I'm 83 years old, and last week, my daughter called me and said, "Mom, we need to talk about your living situation." Now, when your daughter says those words in that tone, you already know what she means. She is not just calling to check on you. She is not just making conversation. She is thinking about your future. And most of the time, when people think about an older person's future, they are really thinking about control, safety, convenience, management, not dignity, not identity, not what it feels like to still be yourself. I'm Margaret, and I need to tell you something before someone makes this decision for you. If you cannot live fully alone anymore, do not rush into a nursing home. Not yet. Not before you understand what that choice can quietly take from you. Because I tried the things people always recommend: living with family, paying for help, moving into a facility, and from the outside every option looked reasonable. But what looks reasonable on paper can feel unbearable when it becomes your daily life. That is what nobody tells you. When people talk about aging, they talk about safety like it is the most important thing in the world. But safety is not the whole of life. A person can be safe and deeply unhappy. A person can be watched and still feel abandoned. A person can be surrounded by help and still feel like she is disappearing. That is what this is really about. Not survival, living. After Richard died, I lived alone for the first time in my life. 46 years of marriage, and then suddenly, just me. At first, it was manageable. The house was quiet, too quiet sometimes, but I could still cook, still clean, still make my tea in the morning, still pay my bills, still keep my little routines. And those little routines matter more than younger people understand. When you are old, routine is not boring. Routine is structure. Routine is identity. Routine is the thread that keeps the day from falling apart. At first, I told myself I was fine. I said I liked the quiet. I said I preferred my own company. Sometimes that was true. Sometimes it was not. Then small things started changing. And that is how trouble arrives in old age. Not with one big dramatic moment. With small warnings. I started getting winded climbing the basement stairs. My hands shook opening jars. I would walk into a room and forget what I had gone there for. One morning I stepped out of the shower. My foot slipped, and I caught myself on the towel bar. I did not fall, but the fear came anyway. And once fear enters a house, it sits at the table with you. That night I lay in bed thinking, what if next time I don't catch myself? What if I fall and hit my head? What if I lie there for hours? What if no one comes? Fear makes fast decisions sound wise. That is important. Remember that. Fear can make the wrong choice feel responsible. So I called my daughter, and I asked if I could stay with her for a while, just until I felt steadier, just until I figured things out. She said yes immediately, said I should have asked sooner. The first week was nice. Family dinners, voices, children moving through the hallway, that warm feeling of not being by yourself. And after loss, that can feel like healing, but there is a difference between company and belonging. And I learned that very quickly. My daughter and her husband both worked. The grandchildren had school, friends, activities, noise, motion, plans. Their life had momentum. I did not. By the second week, I was alone in their house most of the day. Just like I had been alone in mine, except now, I was not lonely in my own life. I was lonely in someone else's. The little friction started. Mom, maybe not so much salt. Mom, can you turn the TV down? Mom, we're going out Saturday. You'll be okay here, right? They were not cruel. That is what made it harder. Cruelty gives you something clear to fight. This was softer than that. This was the quiet pain of being the extra piece in a life already full. One evening, I overheard my daughter on the phone. She did not know I was in the hallway. She said, "I know it's the right thing to do, but honestly, it's exhausting." That sentence changed something in me, because I realized living with family does not always make you feel less alone. Sometimes it makes you feel more alone, because now you are surrounded by people and still feel like a burden. And when you begin to feel like a burden, every kindness starts to sting. After 3 months, I told her I was going home. She worried. She argued. She said I would not be safe, but I knew something she did not. A life can be protected and still feel unbearable. Back home, I felt relief. Deep relief. I could sit where I wanted, eat when I wanted, read when I wanted, turn the television up, open the curtains, be quiet, be slow, be myself. But the relief did not solve the real problem. The stairs were still hard. Cooking still exhausted me. My hands still shook. One afternoon, I tried to change a light bulb. I stood there with the new bulb in one hand, the old one in the other, and my fingers started trembling so badly I had to stop. And I remember thinking, this is how it happens. Not all at once, piece by piece. First the jars, then the stairs, then the bulbs, then the rest. So I looked into getting help. A woman a few times a week. Cleaning, cooking, errands. The first one was kind enough, efficient, professional. She folded my towels differently, put my mugs in the wrong cabinet, used a cleaning smell I did not like, left dishes longer than I would have. Small things, very small things, but your home is built out of small things, and if enough of them shift, your home starts feeling strange. Still, I told myself to adjust. She was helping. Then the bills came. $3,000 a month, part-time. I remember staring at the number, thinking, so this is what old age costs. My Social Security could not carry it. My savings could not carry it for long. And then there was another problem. She left. Family issue. Then came someone new. Then another. Then another. Every time someone new walked through my front door, I had to explain everything again. Where the pans go, how I take my tea, which drawer has the batteries, which day the garbage goes out, where I keep the stamps, how the back door sticks when it rains. It was exhausting. I was paying money I could not really spare to feel less and less comfortable in my own home. So I stopped. That is when my daughter found the facility. Clean place, good reputation, nice staff, activities, meals. She said, just try it for a month. People always say just try it, as if giving up your independence is like trying a new restaurant. I agreed because I was tired. And tired people often say yes to things they would refuse if they still had strength. The first few days were not terrible. The room was clean. The bed was made. Meals arrived on time. People smiled. There were card games and small talk and organized safety. From the outside, it looked like a good answer. But by the end of the first week, I started feeling something I had not expected. Not comfort, confinement, breakfast at a set time, lunch at a set time, dinner at 5. I have never eaten dinner at 5 in my life, but there it was. A tray, a schedule, a system. I like reading at night, always have. At 9 o'clock, if the light was still on, someone would knock. Mrs. Turner, time to sleep, time to sleep. I was 83 years old, and suddenly someone else was deciding when my day was finished. One evening I wanted to go outside. The air was cool. The sky looked beautiful. I walked toward the door. A staff member stopped me. Outdoor time ended at 7. Safety policy. Those 2 words became everything I hated. Safety policy. Because what they really meant was this: your choices are no longer yours. That was the worst part. I was not too confused to decide. I was not too sick to think. I could still walk, still talk, still know myself. And yet I was being managed like a problem. After 3 weeks, I called my daughter and said I'm leaving. She was upset. She said I had not given it enough time. But I had learned enough already. Comfort without freedom is not peace. It is a softer kind of prison. So I went home again, and back in my own chair, I finally admitted the truth. Family was not the answer. Paid help was not the answer. The facility was not the answer. So what was left? For a few days, I just sat by the window and watched the neighborhood. Children riding bikes, cars coming and going, people carrying groceries, dogs pulling their owners too fast. And I thought maybe there was no good answer. Then one afternoon, I walked to the little grocery store on the corner. Not the big one, just the small one, 3 blocks away. And I saw my neighbor Sarah pacing with her phone in her hand. She looked like she might cry. I heard her say, "I can't leave work early again." Then she hung up. Without thinking much about it, I walked over and said, "If you ever need someone to pick up your daughter from school." I walked past there anyway. She looked surprised, then relieved. That was the beginning. The next day, I picked up Emma. Small backpack, big energy. She talked the whole way home about a drawing, about a girl who cried because someone broke a pencil. When Sarah got home that evening, she knocked on my door with a plate of food. I made extra. That became our routine. I picked up Emma. Sarah brought meals a few times a week. Her husband fixed my leaky faucet, changed the light bulb. I could not manage, helped me with small repairs. Sarah showed me how to pay a few bills online. Emma taped drawings to my refrigerator and started calling me Miss Margaret. And slowly, something came back to life in me. Not because I was being taken care of, because I was still useful. That was what I had been missing. Not only help, purpose. I did not need to be handled. I needed to still matter. That is the part people forget when they talk about old age. Older people do not only need support, they need significance. They need to feel they still have something to give. And that changed everything. I was not paying Sarah. She was not managing me. We were helping each other. That is different. Very different. I still live alone. But I am not lonely. I still need help sometimes. But I do not feel helpless. And that difference is the difference between aging and disappearing. Now listen to me carefully. I am not saying this exact answer will fit every life. Your situation may be different. Your body may be weaker. Your family may be kinder. Your town may be harder. But the lesson is bigger than the details. You do not always have to choose between total independence and total dependence. There is space in between, and that is where dignity lives. Community matters more than people think. Money can buy service, but it cannot buy belonging. And belonging is what keeps a person alive inside herself. I'm 83. I still live in my own home. I still make many of my own choices. I still have a place in someone else's day, and that matters more than comfort, more than routine, more than being watched. So if you are younger, thinking about this for your parent, do not only ask, how do I keep them safe? Ask, how do I help them stay themselves? And if you are older and scared, do not rush too quickly into the most obvious answer. Sometimes the right answer is not the big official one. Sometimes it is smaller, more human, less perfect on paper, but more alive in real life. That is what worked for me. Not because it made me young again, not because it fixed everything, but because it let me stay Margaret. And at my age, that is worth more than people realize.